Alex had always been the quiet one, working as a junior accountant in a firm where people forgot his name between meetings. Sarah had left him 4 years earlier, not in anger, but in exhaustion. She said she couldn't keep loving someone who refused to let her in. He didn't fight her decision. He just watched her pack and said nothing. After she walked out, he never really unpacked the silence she left behind. He told himself he was fine. He was fine. The night it happened, there was no grand moment, no music swelling, no final epiphany. Simply sat on the edge of his bed, lummed at the bottle of sleeping pills he'd been saving for a bad day, and decided today was bad enough. He swallowed them slowly, methodically, the way he used to file reports. One pill, one breath, one more, until the bottle was empty. The room tilted gently. The ceiling light became a soft yellow halo, then darkness folded over him like a blanket. For a moment, there was peace, real peace. No thoughts, no guilt, nothing. And then, the world returned. He felt the sheets beneath him, slightly damp from sweat, cool at the edges. He heard the low hum of the fridge in the kitchen. He smelled the faint chemical sweetness of the pills still coating his tongue, but he could not move. Not a finger, not an eyelid, not even to draw breath. Though breath was no longer necessary, his heart had stopped. He knew it. He could feel the stillness in his chest, the slow settling of blood in his limbs, the cooling of skin. He was dead, but he was still here. The horror wasn't death itself. The horror was that death had not taken his awareness with it. He tried to scream. Nothing happened. He tried to open his eyes. They remained closed. He tried to lift a hand, to roll over, to do anything at all. His body lay perfectly still on the bed, as if it had never been his to command. His time lost meaning. Minutes, hours, he couldn't tell. Then the front door opened. Footsteps, familiar, careful. Sarah's voice, soft and uncertain. Alex, I still have the spare key. I needed to see if you were okay. You haven't answered my messages in weeks. She stepped into the bedroom. He heard her breath catch, sharp, sudden, tame. A small, broken sound escaped her. Oh God, Alex, She dropped to her knees beside the bed. Her hand touched his cheek, warm, trembling. T felt every millimeter of her fingers, every tear that fell onto his skin. She whispered his name again and again, voice cracking until it was barely sound. He wanted to tell her he was sorry, that he had loved her, that he never wanted her to see him like this. The words stayed locked inside his skull, screaming in silence. She stayed for almost an hour, talking to him, apologizing for leaving, telling him she never stopped loving him, begging him to forgive her. Met paramedics, police. Their voices were calm, professional. Parent suicide. Its time of death, estimated 1:40 a.m. They lifted him onto the stretcher. He felt the straps tighten across his chest, the cold plastic against his back. The ride to the morgue was a series of jolts and turns, sirens fading into background noise. In the morgue, they laid him on steel. The cold was immediate, deep, permanent. A pathologist spoke into a recorder. Male, 32, overdose, no suspicious circumstances. They took photographs. They cut away his clothes. They weighed him. They tagged his toe. He felt every cut, every touch, every clinical word. His mother arrived the next morning. Her sobs were raw, animal. My boy, my beautiful boy. She held his hand for hours, whispered apologies for every Sunday she hadn't called. Every time she told him to cheer up, he felt her tears soak into his skin like rain on stone. His father came too, silent, staring. Finally he said, "I should have taught you how to ask for help." He stood there a long time, not touching him, just looking. Friends came in ones and twos. Some cried, some stood mute. Mark from work whispered, "I thought he was just shy. I should have asked how he was." The funeral home, the embalming, the cold fluid pushed into his veins, the makeup to hide the gray pallor, the suit they dressed him in, the same one he wore to Sarah's cousin's wedding 4 years ago. The last time he and Sarah had danced. He felt the needle, the brush on his face, the buttons done up on his shirt. The night before the funeral, Sarah came alone. She sat beside the open coffin, holding his hand. "Sorry I left," she whispered. "I thought you needed space. I thought you'd call when you were ready. I didn't know. I didn't know how much pain you were in." She cried until her voice was gone. Then she leaned down and kissed his forehead. "I love you, Alex. I always will." He wanted to scream, to beg her to stay, to tell her he was still here, trapped, listening, loving her, back in the only way he could now. But he couldn't. The funeral was on a gray Thursday morning. The church was half full. People he hadn't spoken to in years. People he had quietly pushed away. The coffin was closed. Tea lay inside it, satin cool against his back. The lid was heavy. The darkness complete. T's began. The priest spoke of peace and eternal rest. T's mother read a poem she'd written when he was 5. His father tried to speak and couldn't. Sarah stood at the podium, voice trembling. "He was kind," she said. "He was funny when he let himself be. He loved quietly, and he deserved to be loved loudly. I'm sorry I didn't love him loudly enough." Each word was a blade. The pallbearers carried the coffin out. He felt the gentle rocking, the sway as they walked. Rain tapped on the roof of the hearse. The drive to the cemetery was silent except for his mother's soft crying. At the graveside the wind was cold. The priest said the final prayer. It ticked. His mother placed a single white rose on the lid. Sarah laid her hand on the coffin for a long moment. "Goodbye, my love," she whispered. Then the lowering. The straps creaked. The coffin descended. Slow, steady. T felt the shift, the settling. Dessel full of dirt hit the lid. A dull, final thud. Another, and another. Dessel was enormous. Dirt rained down, heavier, faster. The darkness thickened. The weight pressed in. Every clod, every stone, every wet handful of soil landed on him like judgment. The last thing he heard was his mother's voice, faint and breaking, as the final shovelful fell. "I love you, Alex. Rest now." Then, silence. The world above continued. His mother would go home and sit in his empty flat, holding his old jumper. Sarah would walk back to her car, crying, promising herself she would live better, love louder. Friends would return to their lives, carrying a small, guilty ache. And Alex remained, trapped, aware, feeling every grain of earth above him, hearing the worms begin their slow work, sensing the roots reaching down, knowing he would feel it all, every second, every century, until the heat death of the universe. He had wanted to stop feeling pain. Instead, he would feel everything, forever.